Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today we're going to work on a reel that Joe sent in. This one is a Penn Squall. It's the Lever Drag 40, and this one's clearly seen a lot of use. It's got a lot of salt debris on it, if you will, film, whatever. It's got a little bit of a kind of a noise to it. So we're going to take this apart. We'll see if we can't clean this up. We'll show you how it's made, and if you have one of these, how to service it, and hopefully we'll get it back a little quieter than it is and in better condition to go fishing. So we're going to start by removing the pieces and the parts, and that starts with the handle. And as I remove the pieces and parts, I'm going to encourage you to subscribe to my channel if you like the art of fishing reel repair. If you do, I cover all kinds of reels. I cover the freshwater and saltwater. I cover conventional round bait casters, low profile bait casters, freshwater. Basically, if it's made, I cover it. And I try to show you in each of these how to take them apart, how to check for the problems if there are problems, and we try and give you a little pattern there to kind of see that you're aware of them, and try to make the best of a bad situation in terms of repairing them if needed. Well, we've got a cap nut here that we want to take off. It's a 14mm cap nut. That's going to enable us to remove the handle. And as I take the pieces and parts off, I put them into a parts tray. That parts tray helps me keep track of where all of the pieces are when it comes time to reinstall. If you haven't worked on these reels before, I would encourage you to go out to the web, get a schematic of the reel, and that way it's a burst diagram that'll show you how the reel is assembled piece by piece in case you get stuck. The other thing to do is take pictures along the way as you remove the pieces and parts and you come to a critical juncture. Well, taking that picture will help you to identify where the parts go should you have a problem later on. Alright, took the little cap off there. Now we're going to remove the side plate. I think we have to remove this. I'm sure we have to remove this. So this is the preset adjuster. That's going to control the tension on the lever drag. This pulls the spool in to connect with the pressure plate. And you'll notice underneath that we have two ramps, or two pyramids. Kind of looks like ramps, but there's two pyramids. Those are the ones that ride up the ramps on the adjuster, and that's what pulls the spool into the pressure plate. There's also a couple of tension washers in that stack there, so just note those. I generally leave those right in there. We should be able to remove the arm then for the lever drag. And now we've got a bunch of case screws here. We have a screw here that's controlling your ramp. I'm not sure if that's needed to be removed. We'll find out in a moment or two or three. I don't think this comes off. So what we'll do is we'll come back here and we'll remove the 6 side plate screws. You can see that there's 4 screws on the face and there's 2 screws behind. When you go to remove these, take these and lay them on a section somewhere so that you can make sure that the screws are all the same size. If they're not the same size, you want to go ahead and identify where the longs or the short ones are. Now you'll notice here, this one has fine threads and this one has the broader threads. So you want to just note where this crossbar is, you're going to have fine threads. Where it meets the case, you're going to have the rougher threads. Same thing here, we have a fine thread on this bar, and we might have a fine thread here. So there's one that's different so far. And that one tells you where that one goes. Okay, so there's 2 that are different. So the 2 go north and south, east and west is the fine threads. Those pieces go into my tray. These have salt that has been gathered up on it, so I'm just going to put a little squirt of penetrating oil onto my bench there. Kind of soak it. That will dissolve the salt that's hanging there. I'll just mop that up a little bit. Well, I mentioned that there's 6. There's 2 more underneath here, and these are very different screws as well. But again, take the pictures, make a note of it, and if you get stuck along the way, if you're trying to put one screw into a different slot somewhere, just go back and check your schematic. That'll give you all the information you really need to know. These are two long ones, so it's hard to get these confused with the other ones, but I can tell you from experience, things get confused. Okay, that should be all of those. Now we'll find out if we needed to remove those other two, or we do not. So we just learned there that you do not need to remove these two screws. I suspect that what those two screws are doing is they're holding in a spring mechanism in here, and as long as you don't need to access that, I wouldn't. Well, we had asked before, does this come out? It doesn't. I'm noticing on the back end of this that we have a screw that's holding that main gear in, and in order to service the side plate, we're going to need to remove that screw. Let's go ahead and do that right now. Best way to do that is to get that handled again so that you have a hold on that pivot arm for your screw, and then get a screwdriver that matches the slot in that screw for the main gear. Don't go in with anything smaller than what'll fit. If you do, you risk butterflying that screw. Well, if you butterfly that screw, it may be hard to work with that one in the future. All right, we're going to take this screw out. That should enable me to remove the main gear. This is a single speed reel. Now we should be able to pull the other part out from the front. And notice, take a picture. There's a indentation on the face side and the flat side coming inward towards the reel. Well, when you're doing the work on a fishing reel, normal maintenance or otherwise, you just want to clean and inspect. That's the most important part of this. So we're going to clean up the old grease. There's some grease that's kind of accumulated in the holes here as we wipe this down, so we're going to get that out. And what's better than just using a cotton swab to do that? Now we're going to check the teeth, and well, you saw where all that grease came from because the teeth are kind of devoid of that grease. But I'm going to use a brush just to pull through, just in case there's any remnants of the grease or other debris in there. So we're going to go ahead and clean all of that out, and then we can kind of set that aside. One of the things I did note on the front side of this is there's a little Teflon washer that goes right here. And we're just going to lay that off to the side for a moment. Well, we have one bearing here. We know that those bearings have been kind of noisy. I'm just going to test it. The best way to test it is just put your finger in there and turn it. You can also use a little pick or something. This one's running fine. And I normally do not grease bearings, but it looks like the plant has used that grease here, so let's go ahead and put that grease in there. Most of the time the bearing is exposed to the elements. This is inside a case, so I'm not as concerned with it. So we'll do a good job there. While we're working on the case, you want to make sure that it's all cleaned up. There's no grease or anything in here, so we can just wipe down our gear shaft. Get all the old grease off of that. And we'll just go ahead and reinstall this, because the less parts you have on the table, the better off you're going to be. And in this case, lever drags tend to accumulate a lot of different pieces and parts. So let's just go ahead and get this done. I'll take that. I'm going to put that in through the front side now, just like that. Then I'm going to find our Teflon washer, seat that into the case. Remember what we said about this this gear? It has two sides to it. The side that's flush is facing the inner part of the reel. We've cleaned the slots, so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to grease that up. I use Penn Precision Reel Grease here. Not because it's a Penn reel, but because I just like it, and it comes in big quantity tubs. But I do encourage you only to use fishing reel grease when you work on your reels. All right, we're going to take the gear and we're going to line that up so that it fits snugly over that. I'm going to go get that big screw and put that back in. Once you get that started, go for your screwdriver, hold the stem with the handle, go ahead and tighten that down. So what we've done so far is we've taken the gear side plate off, we've removed the main gear, we've cleaned it, we've lubricated the bearing and the main gear, and well, this should turn nice and easy now, which it does. All right, let's turn our attention then to the business side of this reel. The business side is all about the spool, the drag, and the tension washers in there. All right, we're going to start by removing this pinion gear. Note as you took that out what's front and what's back. So front is this long extension, back hardly has any. The back side fits into this piece, the collar that's going to be on that pressure plate. All right, well, I think the easiest thing to do with this one, rather than removing the two dogs there, is just remove the whole assembly. To do that, you're going to need a Phillips head screwdriver. This is an old-fashioned tongue anti-reverse dog assembly. It's not a anti-reverse clutch that you see in some of the reels that are out there. This has a double dog system, and this is a good place to take a picture so that you see how those dogs are set up, just in case this assembly switches when you go to remove it. So you've got kind of one is facing up at a 90 and the other at a 45, and now this whole piece should come out just like that. That's what you want to do there. And notice on those dogs, they're not touching on the fingers. There's a space between them, and that space does not have to be closed in order for this to be effective. I'm going to set that down. Now we can remove the spool, and on this side we're going to have I believe we're going to have a star and a burring under there. No, that's just a lockdown for your spool. Okay. Well, lots came out of this, but that's okay. Let's continue. You can see that we have a left-hand thread screw. That means it threads clockwise. It should unscrew counterclockwise. Maybe, maybe not. Nope, maybe not. Unscrew, I should read the plate. That would always help. Unscrew is moving it in the direction of the arrow. Always fun. So you want to do just that. That's the hold down cap. Now we can remove the pressure plate assembly. You can see the drag washer underneath. Here's a spring. Take a picture. When we go to the pressure plate, there's a bearing underneath here. You want to oil that bearing. Again, we've heard a little bit of a squeaky, so let's make sure that we get those bearings nice and oiled. Generally speaking, these bearings do not wear out, so we can just kind of clean up around this. And I thought maybe, well, there is a little wire ring here. You might see it. If you wanted to remove this disc, you can do that by removing this metal. But I think we'll be fine there. And we'll show you how to reset that anti-reverse dog setup when we go around to it. Actually, you can put it on right now. So remember how your anti-reverse dog sits. And you can open one, set the other, and that's how it sits, just like that. And then when we go to reinstall, we'll make sure that we line this all up. All right, gets two pieces out of the way. So this is a removable disc. You'll notice we have a flat hard side on the one side. That is not a drag washer. Please take the picture. Do not put the shiny side up facing the pressure plate. You will not get any drag. This is the drag washer. This one is clean. Now, if you wanted to, if you saw that there was an accumulation of old dried grease and the like, take a hard bristle brush and brush it out. Now, I'm not backing this with a paper towel because, well, there's nothing in that drag washer. This drag washer is fine. But if you found that you had it clogged with grease, That's the way to do it. Grab a toothbrush or a hard bristle brush. Don't use a wire brush. And pull it until you can see the cross hatching in this disc. You can grease this or you can leave it dry. I noticed that there was a little remnant of grease on there. So we'll show you what we're going to do. And I'm going to use the Penn grease for this because that's what they used. But just a light coating of grease. Then use your gloved hand to spread it around. And then wipe off the excess so that you can see that crosshatch again. That's how you do it. So that's the service of your drag washer in this reel. I'm going to wipe out the stuff below it because that's only going to get moving and may become problematic. I'm going to take the drag washer then and reinstall. There's 4 little slots that mesh with that and hold that in place. Let's go back to the other side then. There's 3 smaller screws here. Let's take those out. And that should be another bearing in there, which is why we want to remove those screws. Now I did not pull the schematic to tell me it would be in there, but if I had any question, well, that's what I would do. That's one down. I'm gonna leave these on my bench just because I want to see that they're all the same size screw. I have no reason to believe that they're not the same size screw, but I've been fooled before. Well, that's the 3rd one, so I'm going to put the carrier there. Now I'm going to push that whole assembly through, and you can see what the pieces are here. So we have a bearing and a shim washer that go up top. We have a center ferrule that rides on the shaft. We have a series of tension washers below, and we have another bearing. So you want to remove this end cap so that you can get in here and oil that bearing. And once you do that, you can reinstall that end cap. Let's put it all back together again. You can take the cap, and these little screws are always entertaining. Line that up. I use a pick to do that. And we're going to hope that, well, we can get these done in some reasonable set of time. These shouldn't be too bad because, well, there's a little indent on these, so I should be lucky in terms of getting these screws in. So lever drags have become pretty popular. I think the early lever drags are probably 1960s. I do remember the Finor having a lever drag. I think it was called Royal. I'm not remembering exactly. And of course you have the Penn Internationals and the like. And it's a nice concept. I like them. It's kind of simple and effective. All right, so those bearings are oiled on that side. Let's oil this bearing on this side. I'll go ahead and put that bearing shield on. Once we've reassembled, reinstalled the drag washer, reassembled the spool, you want to take that spring that's going to push the drag plate off and free spool, put that back on the reel. And let's go ahead and put the pressure plate on the reel. And then let's go ahead and tighten all of that up. I'm going to do that by turning this counterclockwise so that the drag is set. Once you do that, you can take your anti-reverse dog and set those 2 dogs just like that. That's how this goes. Remember what we said, one was at a 90, one was at a 45, and that's just about the way it looks here. So I think we've got them in the right slots. And now let's go ahead and reassemble that to the base case. Look for the 2 slot holes in the case. That's where your dog is going to sit. Try and center your spool. That fell in nice and easy. That doesn't always happen that way. We might have gotten lucky there. You have to match the rectangular section of the axle shaft with the slot in that back end of the case, and that doesn't always happen. If it doesn't happen the way it just did for me, when you get that centered up there, turn the axle shaft and that'll ensure that you've seated that properly. So just finish tightening this up. Now we can go pay attention to the pinion gear. Now I've gone ahead and greased this one. But you wanted to check the slots, make sure that they're all clean. And once you do that, go ahead and put that pinion gear into the housing. Now, the reason I do it this way is that each tooth sits in this piece. Much easier to do it on this side than loading it into the back side of this one and then trying to mesh it to the pressure plate. It's almost always more difficult to do it that way. All right, let's do a little bit of cleaning while we're at it. I'm going to use Penn Precision Reel Cleaner and a kitchen scrubby. I'm just going to put a little bit of the cleaner on here, and I'm going to buff out the side plate before I go put that on. Remember what we saw was a lot of old salt in that, and this cleaner is very good at cleaning that up. Now, some of this is UV damage. This isn't going to fix UV damage. It is going to clean it, and it'll give you a nice protective coat for a little bit, but eventually it will wear off and you'll have to do it again. All right, that's the piece here. We should be able to merge that now and set it up. So a couple of things. This stud here is going to go into a hole in the case here, and just kind of work it through until you get that nice little snap. When you get that snap, the best thing to do is go ahead and put one of those screws behind it, and that'll hold it in place while you go to mount the metal trim ring and the like. Well, I'm going to ask you again to subscribe to my channel if you like these types of videos. And if you do like them, please indicate that. Like it on the video. It helps the circulation of the video, I believe. And again, if you really like to see the subscription with the notifications is the best way to ensure that you're going to be able to see all the new ones that get posted. And learn a little bit about all the fishing reels and their differences and the similarities and so on. At the end of the day, every fishing reel is a big reel. A big gear turns a little gear. Little gear turns a spool, and that gathers the line. All right, well, we had that little kitchen scrubby there. Probably still have some on there. Let's go ahead and get the other side of the reel, get that kind of film off of it. Let's go ahead and clean the rest of this up. Nice reel overall, following traditional design here. There's nothing unusual about the way that this lever drag is manufactured. And dependable. I think that's one of the things you can use as an adjective there. And now you can say cleaned up as well. All right, I'm just going to wipe some of that off. And it's a cleaner and a kind of a polish. All right, let's go back, grab that metal ring then. That goes next. Find your 4 screws. Remember, 2 different screw sizes. Now we got a rough thread and a machine thread. The fine threads go in those crossbars, so I'm going to start with those. And it's a good thing that it goes in this way because it's going to keep equal pressure on this reel. There'll be kind of east and west first, then north and south. That's going to help with the reel overall. If you're watching my elbow on my shirt sleeve, I apologize. No matter how many of these I make, I seem to get my hands in the way a lot. I am aware of it. I do try to do it a little bit better, but from time to time that doesn't work as it should. All right, one of the rough threaded screws go up top. We're almost ready to put the arm back on, give it a test. One more. coming down the end of this. So if you recall how we did this on the way up, there was a arm that went next. You know, we didn't clean the arm there, and that's got a lot of junk on it, so let's make sure we can clean that. You can hear there's a little click mechanism in that arm as well. You want to center that. Now you want to find the peak side of this this ramp here. You want to install this with your arm over in the free spool end, and you want to line this up so that the pyramids nest in those slots. There's a whole series of 3 or 4 of those tension washers in here. If you've taken them out, you can nest those in face to face or side to side, or any of the multitude of channels there. All right, let's take a look here. Boy, if that isn't spinning a whole lot easier. I think this one was just probably crying out for some oil. Now look at it, it's still going. Nice. All right, the cap goes on this side. Our handle goes on. The handle nut goes on, or cap. I guess it's a cap nut. And again, start this by hand. It's so easy to cross strip these, and then you're looking for a new cap, you're looking for a new gear post. Just take your time on that one. I think we said that was the 13mm wrench. And then you need to align your cap nut with the hole. I guess this has to get backed off just a slight bit. Just be patient with it. That's probably it right there. Make sure that you have a visual where you can see where the screw is going to go into the handle, and then tighten that up. That's going to hold the cap in place. Make sure that's tight. Again, check your spool. Okay, after you've played around a little bit with the adjuster, you should have a free spool. And that spool can spin forever. First strike and max drag. And that's where you want to be. As long as you have the 3 functioning that way, free spool, first strike, max drag, without feeling like there's any tension. In other words, if you were here and your arm stopped, then you have to back this off to continue to get the full swing of this in order to have the maximum effectiveness of a lever drag reel. So, first strike, push the button in, get to that second strike, lock it in. It's nice and tight. That's your reel. So I hope you've enjoyed how to service this one. Again, if you did, please like it. And if you want to see more of these, please subscribe. So this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, thanking all of our first responders and essential personnel for everything it is that you do. Wishing everybody a great day, fantastic fishing, and see you soon. Thank you.